Hey, I'm Aja A, and welcome to Sunshine Haze. Don't forget to check out all the links that I have listed down in the description box, and if you like the video, please give me a little thumbs up. If you have any questions after the video is over, feel free to drop them down below. I try to respond to everyone. And if you all know people interested in astrology, numerology, tarot, or whatever I'm talking about on this channel, go on and send them this link. And don't forget to hit subscribe. And of course, thanks for tuning in and rocking with me. May this info help y'all live your best lives. Peace. Hey y'all, welcome back to Sunshine Haze Co. I am Aja A. For those of y'all that have never seen one of my videos, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. For those of y'all that have been rocking with me for however long, thank you for continuing to come back and listening to me drop knowledge. I'm outside again, probably going to be outside until it gets cold because I like being outside. My little Capricorn rising heart is very happy, but that also means that I have allergies, so please bear with the nasaliness in my voice because allergies been fucking with me, y'all. But anyways, this is a video for the full moon that we are about to have in a few days. That is the full moon in Sagittarius. Cool thing about this moon is that it is also an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. So yeah, let's get right to the shits. So for those of you guys that aren't really hip to astrology, full moons are a time when the side of the moon that is facing us, the moon's in alignment with the sun. On the side of the moon, the side of the moon that's facing us is illuminated. So energetically, that points to clarity, clarification, gaining illumination into certain things. It also points to a sign of release and a time of cleansing. Remember that the moon is associated with the water element, so anytime we have full moons, I look at this as a time of cleansing. And it's a time of release as well. So this is actually going to be a pretty poppin' moon. It is the last full moon of the spring, and we're really wrapping up the spring season, and on top of that, it is a lunar eclipse, right? So with that being said, it's eclipse season. We're in the first eclipse of the eclipse season, and this one is pretty cool. I keep saying it's pretty cool. This is super cool, guys. This one is pretty dope because we've been in the Cancer Capricorn eclipse axis, nodal axis, for the past year and a half, almost 2 years. We are getting ready to tip into the Gemini Sagittarius eclipse axis. We do have a couple or maybe one more eclipse left in Cancer Capricorn, but we're getting ready to shift into new energies. So this is a little bit of a glimpse into what's to come. And lunar eclipses, I associate eclipses with the energy of change. Solar eclipses I associate with what's coming in, what's phasing in for us, and lunar eclipses I associate with what is phasing out for us. So this particular full moon, this particular lunar eclipse is going to give us a little bit of a glimpse of the things we're going to be working on over the next year and a half, that we're going to be moving out so that we can progress and clear out space to build upon the pillars that need to be coming in for us. Okay. I'm going to take a sip. And yes, I am out here in the park on a blanket drinking a White Claw because why? Because I'm grown. Because ain't shit else to do. So, this full moon is happening in the sign of Sagittarius on June 5th. That's a Friday. Yeah, it's a Friday. That's when I'll be back. Happening on June 5th at 1:44, interesting enough, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're interested in figuring out the times and stuff, that is the information that I have for you. You can go on and calculate it. The lunar eclipse is not going to be visible to those of us in the northern, excuse me, that's why I don't be drinking White Claws, because it makes me burp. Excuse me. Will not be visible to us that live, to those of us that live in the northern hemisphere, but for those of you that are watching my videos, what's good, that live in the southern hemisphere, the eclipse will be visible to you at certain times depending on where you live, okay? There's hella free websites that can show you that, excuse me. So, full moon, lunar eclipse happening on Friday, June 5th or the 6th, depending on where you're at, in 15 degrees. This is in the sign of Sagittarius. So for those of you guys that are not into the astrologies, what is a Sagittarius? Sagittarius is the archer of the zodiac. Sagittarius shoots its arrow wherever, and it just goes to frolic and play and do whatever its little heart feels called to. Honestly. Sagittarians are very adventurous. They're very experimental. They carry a very positive energy. They are fun. And Sagittarius is also associated with a very highly vibrating spiritual energy as well. So this moon has a lot of intense aspects to it that are really going to shift us and shift our course of action and shift our lives. But with it being in the sign of Sag, I would not be surprised if a lot of these things are happening on a higher or a more subconscious level as opposed to happening in the physical, depending on how your chart is set up, okay? So a few points that I want to make about the types of energy that we'll be dealing with this full moon, which will be happening for the next couple of weeks, especially a little bit more stronger around the shadow period and the time of the actual moon and eclipse. First thing that I have here, with this being Sagittarius, with this being an experimental and an adventurous sign, we're going to be moving into this energy of gaining clarification on what is coming in for us, and I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So this is a full moon time. I don't like to use this time to necessarily manifest new things, because this is more so a time of release for me, but different strokes for different folks. If this is your manifestation time, it might be a good time for you to look at what is coming in, what you'd like to come in, right? New things that you like to come in. However, if you're more so like me and you're like, this is not a time to manifest, this will definitely be a time to where you're getting either, you know, glimpses, or having like these little clairvoyant flashes or visions, or getting these messages, especially because we're dealing with that spiritual Sagittarian energy in regards to what type of future you're going to be having in the next couple of years, because this energy is very closely related to this eclipse axis. So we're looking at 2020 and 2021 here. So with that full moon energy, just gaining illumination into things that are coming in, and with it being a full moon, getting some knowledge into how you can start to release other things and other energies in your life to clear out, so that you can actually start to build upon and start to work towards these particular goals, okay? In addition to that, I do have a couple notes here, more notes here about cleansing. I specifically have one about spiritual cleansing. Again, I mentioned that Sagittarius is a highly vibrational spiritual energy, right? So with that being said, this full moon time, especially with all of the shit that's been going on in the world, especially here in the States, moving from COVID-19 into all of these racial injustices that we keep having to endure over the years. This has been present my whole life. I'm only 27, so imagine the people that are older than me that are like, no, this has been present my whole life. So with everything going on around us right now, we're getting a little bit of a spiritual cleanse. So things are starting to pop up with everything else that's happening in the cosmos. It's starting to shed a little bit of light and starting to shift things for us. This is the first time in my history that I've seen us react the way that we are right now to a cop killing. I'm sorry, a cop murdering another one of ours. So there are new things and new energies coming in and shifts happening. So there's a lot of stuff happening. And so with everything going on, it's like you can't sit there and not have some sort of epiphany or some sort of realization. So everybody with this Sagittarian full moon, especially this eclipse energy, you're going to be getting a glimpse into the things that you need to cleanse as far as your spirit goes. And that could mean you need to do some meditative work. It could mean you need to do some Reiki. It could mean that you need to just go out and mix and mingle, or take a little bit of time for yourself away from everything that you're usually invested in. But this is going to be a time to where you get the idea of, no, there are some things that I need to release that are not necessarily physical, that are not necessarily tangible, but there's work that I'm going to have to do, and you may do some of the work during these next couple of weeks in order to start to release these energies so that we are not carrying them around. Excuse me, so that we're not carrying them I can't talk. So that we are not carrying them around anymore, and we are clearing out the space, as I mentioned earlier, clearing out the space so that we can prepare ourselves to progress spiritually and to ascend as far as our energy goes into a more positive space. Okay, remember, Sag is fun. Sag is a poppin' positive energy. How many of y'all deal with allergies? I fucking hate allergies. It's like you can't breathe. Your throat and your lungs are filled with nasty stuff. And you sound like an annoying ass little kid. And so, getting back into the video here. The last note that I have as far as the full moon goes is just a little bit more of a broad sense of a release and of a cleanse, but more so because we're dealing with the energy of clarity, clarification, and illumination. Being able to see the heavy, dense, stagnant, lethargic energies that we are carrying around or that have been resonating in our auric fields. And because we're in this space, and being able to see this, or being able to intuitively call these things out, we're going to be in the space to where we can actually do the work on them. Remember that Sag is a fire energy, so it's very intuitive, very spiritual. So you get these epiphanies, you have these realizations, you gain this knowledge, you come to this knowledge, this understanding. And then with Sag being fire, you start to make moves and you start to burn shit up that you no longer need. Fire is also a cleansing agent. So we've got a fire full moon, and it's also an eclipse. So it's a lot of moving energy that we no longer need to hold on to and starting to clear it out, okay? This is a mutable moon. I mentioned a little bit that it is a fire moon. For those of you guys that don't know, mutable signs are the signs that wrap up the seasons, and they carry the energy of really carrying the work that's been done for the change into the new spaces and the new chapters. So as I mentioned earlier, we're in wild ass times right now, and it could get even more wild. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, based on everything else that's going on in the astrologies. But we're in a time to where things have to change. We're in a time to where we have to start to see things for what they really are. We're in a time to where our energy has to shift as a collective in order for us to progress as a collective and on a personal level. So with this being a mutable moon, a mutable full moon, and being the first eclipse in the Gemini Sagittarius nodal axis, there's a lot of change being ushered in for us, but we're in the point of clearing things out so that we can bring the change in and really implement it, okay? What's that note say? I don't know what that says. That's chicken scratch, so we're gonna, whatever. On the shadow side, I do want to talk about this briefly. Sagittarius can be a little impulsive. They can be very aggressive when Sagittarians are not operating within their light aspects, okay? They also, excuse me, they can also be kind of inconsistent and reckless and emotionally distant or cold. So just be mindful of those energies as they're popping up over these next couple of weeks. And around the shadow, you may be in this space to where you don't really want to deal with the shit that is weighing on you emotionally. You might have to disconnect or detach yourself from some things, but keep in mind that this moon is opposite Gemini, so just be mindful to communicate your feelings. Just to be completely honest, if you have to remove yourself from certain things, or if you are being impulsive or you're being aggressive, if you have the mind to understand your behavior, try to communicate it. I guarantee you that it will work out better than just doing what you were going to do anyway. Just side note there for some of y'all. I've been doing this thing to where I talk a little bit about the aspects of the moon, because the moon is very general, but there are other things going on. So I want to give you guys a little bit of information on what's going on with the moon that is not just the moon right now. We call these astrological aspects, transits also. So this moon, this full moon, this eclipse will be squaring Mars. Mars is a planet that deals with aggression and action. So with this full moon being in a fire sign, right, we could be dealing with a little bit of emotional discomfort, and our tempers could be flaring. And a way to avoid those energies is to, as I mentioned earlier, be communicative about the things that are going on so that you can avoid these emotional outbursts, because everybody is prone to tapping into that energy right now, because that is the energy that is around us for the next couple of weeks, okay? Or actually, I don't know how long it'll be squaring Mars, but for right now, for the full moon, that is the energy that we are very prone to tapping into, okay? This moon, excuse me, is also opposite Venus. So Venus is in Gemini right now, and Venus is in retrograde in Gemini right now. So with that being said, there is this energy of a little bit too much indulgence, okay? A little bit of laziness. Excuse me, sorry, y'all. Flies. A little bit of laziness, a little bit of okay, they want me to get drunk apparently. These allergies, granted I don't think I'm gonna get drunk off of the White Claw, but I had a little buzz. Anyways, I already removed that notification. Excuse me, what was I talking about, y'all? Talking about Venus opposing this moon in this eclipse. So with that being said, just be mindful of too much indulgence. Too much of a good thing can become a bad thing, depending. Everything in moderation. Also, because we're dealing with the Venus retrograde, there could be instances, and I talked about this being a very spiritual energy and having like these flashes or these visions in regards to things coming in or things that you need to work on. With that Sagittarian, that spiritual Sagittarian energy attached to this opposition to Venus, there is this instance of past life experiences, so past life patterns popping up. Also, previous partners, previous relationships coming into play, and that could be in the physical or by way of your subconscious via your dreams. I have been experiencing that. I am not a fan, and I'm trying to figure out what it is that I need to go on and acknowledge and work through, because I'm sick of old work popping up in my dreams while I'm trying to sleep. Not cool. Not where it's at. But very Venus retrograde, very this moon spiritual sign opposing Venus in retrograde in Gemini. Okay. Very quickly, want to talk to you guys about the numerology of this full moon. It's happening in 15 degrees. 1 is the number associated with the energy of manifestation, of new cycles, and also independence, and starting new chapters. 5 carries the energy of change and transformation and transmutation and ascending into new spaces and new positive energies and new chapters. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this is a mutable moon. This is an eclipse, the first eclipse of the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. So we are really shifting into a different energy now. So this is a time to where we have to really focus our energy on starting to visualize what it is that we want to see play out for ourselves on the physical plane and on a subconscious level in the spiritual realm, and also starting to solidify that and make those changes habits in our daily routines. Okay, really building upon these foundations and setting them up for what it is, with that 15 breaking down into that 6 energy, setting them up to be worked on so that they become abundant. Okay. This moon is happening on a 33-day, so like I said earlier, a lot of intense aspects with this moon. So you got an eclipse. You got this as a full moon. You've got the spiritual energy of Sagittarius, and then you've also got this moon happening on a 33-day, which is a master number. 33 is the highest master number, so it carries this energy. 33 is considered the master teacher. Excuse me. So with this spiritual energy, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of shifts happening for us in the physical and also happening for us on a spiritual level. Okay, so this full moon, you may find yourself wanting to do some research in regards to how to, kind of work on your spirit, work on your mental. You could be reading self-help books. You could be looking into different spiritual practices. You could be journaling. You could be meditating. You could be doing psychedelics. You could be smoking some weed. Like, I don't know, but this is definitely a time to where I feel a lot of us will be getting more connected to the spirit, or at least looking at ways to clear out whatever it is that is keeping us from those connections. Okay, this is a master number day, so very, very intense vibrations, and I think this is played out like this because it is the start of a new cycle. Okay, so with that being said, this is a time for change. This is a time to where we're getting a glimpse into the change that is coming in for us and the changes that we're going to be making so that those things can actually solidify for us here in the physical. Okay, it's also a time to acknowledge our state of our spiritual health, I guess, and looking at our restrictions to living our best life and how we can come up with new ways so that we can actually shoot our arrows and get to those points and get to those places and do those things, get into those new ideas that we have for ourselves. Okay, so with that being said, if you're into doing intentions, I would definitely write intentions regarding those things, but be very intentional in your intentions. I release, I stop, I no longer, this is a full moon. Remember, it's a time of release, a time of phasing things out, especially with this being a lunar eclipse. Okay, very, very powerful energy here. The people that are going to be the most affected by this lunation are going to be people with their moons in 15 degrees of Sagittarius, of course. People with a lot of 15-degree aspects in their chart, a lot of mutable aspects in their chart, or a lot of Sagittarian elements in their chart, or a lot of fire elements in their chart. And then anywhere those aspects are placed, you can definitely, it's a bee, thank you little bee, but please don't come back over here. Anywhere those aspects are placed, you'll definitely see the shift start to happen there for you. Okay, you'll start to feel the shift start to happen in areas of your life where those planets and those energies govern. All right, and that is all I got for you guys as far as the Sagittarius full moon lunar eclipse goes. I got a few videos that I'd like you guys to watch. It's June now, the best month of the year. Yay. June 29th is a poppin' ass day. It is my birthday, for those of you guys that are interested in telling me happy birthday. I got the June pick a card spread up, or the pick a card reading up. June tarot forecast will be going up. My heart's been kind of heavy with all of the shit that's going on, so I haven't really gotten around to recording my videos ahead of time. I'm gonna start recording those today after I finish this one, so those will be going up over the next week. I'm also moving, so bear with me, y'all. Y'all will get y'all's monthly free tarot forecast for each sign. Gemini new moon, we're dealing with that energy for this next month, for most of June, before we go into the Cancer lunar cycle. And we are in the retrograde cluster, for real. So I have a link to the retrograde series 2020 playlist link down below. What else? Any other plugs I got for y'all? Anything else I want y'all to know? Oh, with that being said, with us having retrogrades and eclipses right now, I am running a retrograde and eclipse reading sale through my Etsy shop. So if you're interested in getting some insight into what this eclipse axis, or even the Cancer and Capricorn eclipse, has for you, I have a sale on those readings. And I also, any planet that is currently in retrograde, you can get a reading on that particular retrograde. It is on sale right now. And those are all my plugs, guys. Thank you guys for thank you guys so much for tuning in. I try not to get tongue twisted in these videos. At this point, I kind of just give up. Y'all know what I meant. Thanks for tuning in. I will catch y'all next time. Peace.